And Ceretha usually starts with us off with a word of prayer. So Ms. Sherrill.
Yeah, give it a mic.
I'm Chaplain.
That's okay.
Ceretha.
Please don't call me a chaplain.
Cover your nose.
Okay. Let's bow our heads together, please, in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you this day for this wonderful opportunity given to us. We thank you for the gifts of life that our families and friends and the breath in us. Thank you for the goodness and blessings over our lives and for the sacrifice that we may have life and freedom. Forgive us for all our sins and injustice and inequalities and inequities, especially when we do not think you enough. We don't thank you enough for who you are or for what you do in our lives and what you have given us. As we are about to start the day, Lord, enlighten our hearts and eyes that we may see you in your work today. Guide our paths and let your spirit and power be within us, that we might not fall into any temptations. Give us wisdom and understanding that we may make the best choices. Fill us within your desires. Grant us a cheerful spirit even when things do not go our way in our nation, in our state, and in our city, and in our neighborhoods. For our children especially, bless them. Guide us and protect us each and every day. Let your will be done in our lives and in the lives of everyone. It's in your Son Jesus' name I pray. Let us say together, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. We were to have a presenter here today for the state, and there was a breakdown in communication, and she was not able to be with us in person. There was an opportunity for her to do it virtually, but we had talked about having in-person presentations done since we moved back to the center. So we did attempt to try to, by way of following up, and Mary, you could help me elaborate on this, from the meeting of last week with the city manager and the mayor about the West Side. We attempted to get the organizations together, 3 different organizations on the West Side together to come and talk about some of the needs and some of the concerns. And our last group was, what is it, Kowina?
Yes, the Historic West End Neighborhood Association.
And Ron Ross was supposed to come back, but I didn't get a call until about 9:45 last night that he would not be able to be here. But in cases like this, and we've had situations like this before in the past with Tuesday morning forum, we like to have an open forum. So that's what we're going to do this morning, is have an open forum. And Natalie has already have a good suggestion for Ceretha to talk to us about Juneteenth, because she does that every year, and it's that time, so she can give us some time to discuss that, and we can ask her some questions, which is a really good thing for us. In addition to that, we will have, after she finishes, we will go into an open forum, which, for those who don't know, it's just suggestions as to some of the speakers you'd like to have after we already are full up through the election. And we can Jackie can give us an update on that, you know, with the speakers that we're going to have coming in here up to there. And then we can you can make some recommendations on who you would like to come and speak before the Tuesday morning forum. Now, we have to be reminded that the Tuesday morning forum is about the community, particularly the African American community, but not all, not excluding any other organizations. But we like to, stay focused or be local with whomever we're going to have a Tuesday morning forum in an organization. So just for you to share that information is what we'll move to once she does her presentation. After that, and I'm asking Jackie and Natalie and Winston and Steve and I had some conversation about it, and Mary, if we can we have a meeting at the first of the month and start our meeting around 9:30, and we can have our meeting around 9:30 and then to 10. So
I have to be at work.
hold on to it. Okay, at 10.
I have to be there at 10. I have to be no later than 9.
But anyway, because we usually have a meeting at this time of at 4 o'clock. But anyway, we talked about that, and we may have to make some adjustments. But anyway, that's what we're gonna do today. So we're gonna start with Ceretha. If you want to share with us information about Juneteenth, and after that, what we will do is we will have an open discussion about those agencies or those groups that you'd like to come into. Yeah,
I will never sit in another rolling chair in my life. Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Ms. Clay. I've been listening to the podcast from Juneteenth for about 6 years now. And they're on every Saturday at 1 o'clock. The number is 720-453-2464. If you want me to write it down for you after I finish, I'll be happy to. And once you get on, they will call you at 5 minutes to 1, and you'll answer the phone, because I have been working for voting, at precincts during voting, and I get the call and I pick it up because I know who it is, and I just listen, and I never say a word, but they know the co-director of the National Juneteenth Organization Directors, NJOF. They are the founders of Juneteenth. Reverend Dr. Myers is the founder. He died in 2018. And Steve Williams and Dee Evans are the two who are in charge now on Saturdays. And they will welcome you in. You don't have to be a member of anything. It doesn't cost you anything just to get the knowledge. We were able last year to get the holiday. So June 20th, which is my birthday, is the National Juneteenth holiday. This year will be the second year that it's been designated a holiday by President Biden. He signed the order last June 17th, 2 days before the holiday. So you may not have known that, but this year you will, everyone, and I talked to the mayor when she was here last week. She said she will be issuing a proclamation and that she will follow through with what is necessary for the city to be knowledgeable about the holiday. Anyway, yesterday we had a flag raising at Ebenezer Baptist Church, which is located at 2020 West Sugar Creek Road. And we raised the Juneteenth flag because last year, during this month of June, I spoke twice. And each time I was given a t-shirt with a flag on it. At no time did I have a flag, a Juneteenth flag. Now, the Juneteenth flag is red, white, and blue. The red is always at the bottom when you fly the flag. It represents the blood that was shed on the ground by the enslaved persons who were set free. Now, let me just tell you something personal that I don't like to talk about a lot. My dad used to sit down, we used to have a fireplace, and my dad used to sit around the fireplace at night and tell us stories from what his dad and what he remembered as a 7-year-old watching his dad in slavery. My granddad was a slave.
So until Juneteenth started relating some of these things that my dad had told me, I didn't believe a word of it. But then they started interviewing some of the older people who knew, like I know, what happened to their parents and what happened to their parents' parents. We got a whole lot of information that we didn't have. For instance, we knew that Granger read order number 3, right? He didn't. And I said to them, and it was a joke, you know, I like to make fun of everything that I can. I said he was on the boat drunk. He wrote it, but he didn't read it. Sergeant Major Mosley, and you can check these facts on www.NJOF 101 Juneteenth, who was a black man, read it. But the enslaved individuals didn't believe him. What did he do? He went to the pastor of the church and asked him to read it because a lot of the slaves could not read. I don't know how my dad learned to read and write. I still have a note that he wrote to me, and he told me in that note that we always shared, I love you. We always shared that at the end of our conversations or at the end of our letters. The whole situation was done by 5,000 black troops. They were bivouacking in Galveston, Texas. So what happened was they were called to duty. And I said they were called to duty because he was on the boat drunk. So the Sergeant Major Mosley read order number 3 to them, and it stipulated that no longer would people be enslaved in the state of Texas. And it was an executive order written by the 16th President of the United States, President Lincoln. And it said in the stipulation that people could stay where they were, but it would be an employer-employee relationship with salary. And a lot of the folks didn't know that either. So they stuck the order number 3 onto church. The preacher read it to them. Now, before that time, and my dad used to tell me about this, and I never believed it. You know how your parents tell you something, you just say, that doesn't wash, you know? But it's true. They used to turn a wash pot upside down in front of the door to their entrance, to their houses, the little shacks, so that they couldn't be heard on the outside. You people who are in electronics can do something about that. That sound. It got out anyway because they found out that some of them could read and some of them were teaching them to read, you know, to tell you the truth. Some of the people who were on the Underground Railroad team. Anyway, in 1862, Lincoln left the Capitol, rode. We didn't have cars. We did not have trains. We didn't have planes. We didn't have any of that. So he must have gone in a what? Horse-drawn buggy, that's right. To Texas, it was still the hard state that it is today. He took the edict down to them. And it was stated in that it became, the declaration of the proclamation became active January 1 in 1863. So watch night was waiting for 1863 to start. Okay, we knew to pray, so that's what we did when we got together. But it didn't happen for the people in Texas. And they got together and they gathered enslaved individuals from other places, from other states, into the state. There were 200,000 enslaved individuals in 1863 to be freed. All of them didn't believe it. Some of them left, you know. Some of them had already run away to join the Union's army. There were 5,000 black men, and I said it was big black horses with big black men with big black guns, with permission to shoot them, issued by the president. They still didn't let our relatives, my relatives, go free. They thought that by just isolating themselves in Texas, they'd get away with it until that preacher stuck that order number 3 on his church, and he would read it anytime anybody came by and wanted to know what it said. And it said, "Let my people go. They are freed." So that's why Miss Opal Lee was referred to as the mother of Juneteenth last year by the President of the United States during the signing of the law to make Juneteenth a national holiday. Miss Opal Lee would walk 2 miles a day, and you know what walking is when you get to be my age, and she's older than I am. But she walked from Texas to Washington, D.C. to carry the petition, and I signed it happily. We needed 10,000 signatures on it, and she got it. And she presented it to the president for enactment of the holiday that we're going to celebrate second time this year. Now, let me tell you about that flag, and I'm going to stop. It's red, white, and blue. It is to be flown on other flag days underneath the United States flag. If you will go past, and I passed it this morning, Ebenezer Baptist Church on Sugar Creek Road West, you will see the United States flag up top. The Juneteenth flag is underneath that one. The red represents the blood. The blue was hope. The star in the middle was Texas. But the points that went out from Texas represent those people going to those different areas. We did not have, and we never have had in my learning, an international house for black folks. You know the one they have on Central Avenue? We were never had to pass a constitution law to become citizens, did we? You guys, you young people should know this. You can do some research there too. You can also do some research on the items that represent Juneteenth, like the flag. There are few. I've been looking and looking and looking, and you could create some based upon those of you who are artists. You can create some items based upon the history of Juneteenth, and just put your name to them, get them copyrighted, get them patented, and make yourself some money. Simple as that, because that's a wide open field that hasn't been tapped yet. Yes, I can see your son doing that.
Somebody's tapping it. All in Walmart.
Yeah. But
They shut that down.
and that's why the national organization wants us to get the word out this year to everyone what it means, the history of it, and why we need to keep it active, because not enough of us know what it really means. And it means everything to me, because my granddad, I'll tell you one last story that my dad told me two. First of all, my paternal, my dad's mother was killed by an overseer. He made sexual advances and she refused him. He went outside and shot her through, and my dad saw this through the window. She died. My dad, we always knew among us that my dad had killed somebody, but we never knew who it was until I got old and started asking questions. My dad tracked this man in the snow from where he had shot his mother, my grandmother, and he stopped the story right there. Now I learned what happened. My dad at 7 years old killed him. Anyway, to make 7 years old, my dad. You'd have to know my dad.
Where was this? Where were you from? Where was your father from?
South Carolina. And my dad and mom were from Newberry, South Carolina. And you know, the first shot was fired in Charleston, starting the Civil War, South Carolina. Okay? So there are lots of spaces in our histories that need to be covered by us, for us, information-wise. I was reading a book since we were here last week, and you could tell the author's ethnicity, because everything that the other ethnicity had done was played up, and nothing, no details about what happened to black folks we got to stop that. God put us all down here together, and he knows what he's doing, and he does not make mistakes. You got to believe that.
You said you were going to tell us another story. You were going to tell us 2 more stories.
I decided not to tell the second one. I decided not to tell the second one. Go for it. That's why I don't want to tell the second one. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Okay. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Just make sure everybody mask over the nose and mouth.
I missed the title of the national organization.
NJOF.
Who is it?
National Juneteenth Organization Founders. NJOF. www.njOF.
F is in Frank?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, I just Googled it too. Is that separate from the Juneteenth Foundation? Are they two?
They are the same.
Okay.
They are the same. As you Google, ask questions. And if I don't know the answer, I'll happily tell you I don't know. But as I said, I've been listening to them, and I listen intently. There are lots of sessions where I just go on and tell them, he already knows, Steve already knows, because he taught us all the technology that I know he taught me. They will help you do what you need to do in order to get Juneteenth done. And they have more patience than I've ever had. Steve and Dee. The woman's name is Dee Evans. And she's on Facebook and Messenger. I think she's on Instagram now too.
Do you know if the guy that's on Thomas Avenue and Settlement?
I tried dealing with him. I wanted to do my organization, the United Voices for Education. We wanted to do the educational league for the leg for education with the Juneteenth. He asked me for a business plan. That's the truth.
So you are allowed. He just has the event.
He has an event. We don't do any booty shaking. I'll tell you that right now. We try to stick with the educational leg of it.
Okay. So they have an education leg. I think Thursdays and Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays.
What do they do?
I've seen. I looked it up on the internet, but they have some type of programs 2 nights, and then they have the. Yeah, they do.
I volunteered to help him one year, knowing what I know about Juneteenth, and they were making beads and other regalia that they were selling, and that to me wasn't putting anything between my ears.
Yes, ma'am, please.
They have another one.
Okay.
They have another one this year at West Charlotte, so maybe.
Maybe. The more the merrier, as long as the facts are straight. As long as they go to Juneteenth, www.juneteenth, and get the information, go for it.
Is this the flag?
That's the flag.
Is it possible?
See those points?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the star, that's the red blood, and that's the hope. That's it.
Oh,
Yes.
last week we talked about organizations and how we have different organizations along the corridor, and they don't necessarily work together. Is it possible that you all can work together to make it, so that people don't have to choose,
I choose not to compete with anybody for knowledge. Our
No, I'm talking about, can you work, is it possible you can work
work with
together?
him. There are several different Juneteenth organizations, and I suggested to a lady yesterday at the flag raising that we have a Juneteenth planning committee, and that we all get together and decide who's going to do what days and that kind of thing.
Oh, that's good.
She was amenable to that.
I like that idea.
Yeah, it'll work if we let it work.
I like that.
Yeah,
Because I think there's value in each one.
you know there's value in each one. Yeah,
And I would not want this one to not.
yeah,
So
I agree.
they said working together, even if you have separate events, yours could focus on one day and somebody else's.
that's correct. Mm-hmm. And just have my day and somebody else has the next day, and
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you want to invite.
And we want the whole month of June. We've got that whole month.
Right.
Last year, we raised the flag on the first day of June. This year, we raised it on the first Monday. And to my knowledge, we are the only organization who raises a flag. And they should be raised all over the city.
Well, that's something you could bring to the group when you come back.
Absolutely.
And take it to the city, because maybe the city should raise a Juneteenth flag.
It's being done in cities.
Yeah.
When you log on Saturdays, you get people from all 50 states on. And they're doing all kinds of learning activities with children. The girl in Las Vegas, Dee's in charge they have regional directors too. Dee is in charge, I'm sure, of Las Vegas, and they are doing a book. Because I contend, personally, this is my personal belief, just like these schools put out lists that they want the kids to have to start school, they can put out a list of books that they can read over the summer. And they are accusing, where are the lists?
They do have lists.
Where are they?
I haven't been in the school system in a while, but I do know my grandson, every year, he brings home a summer reading list.
Is that a citywide thing?
I think so, isn't it,
I know
Carmen? Yeah,
I know it's,
yeah. And
I have
it's-
never seen it, and I tutored yesterday 2 girls. They don't have a list for the summer.
Well, you might want to check with their school, because every school sends home a,
They even have it at the library.
and the library has.
Really? Which library?
Well, all
The
of them
library
probably
has
do
a
that.
summer reading,
They have
the library has a summer reading program.
I know about the summer reading programs
But
from the
schools,
library.
they said- yeah.
But they also have a list.
Well, I told you I would let you know what I don't know, and I never heard of that one.
Really?
And I've been an avid person who really ask about it to kids.
Well, I know Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools and the area private schools send home a reading list during the summer, and some even send home math. And
I have a list
it's on-
from
it's
California
online.
that I have, and it's yellow and it's yellow as all get out now. But I use that for the kids that I deal with, tutoring. But please, if you got a list, bring it to me and I'll make a copy and give it back to you.
It's, and what you're talking about.
That should be on Facebook too.
It's critical,
Yes, it is.
but we can, this coming together.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what we think that would work for
Yeah.
this community.
Yeah,
We want to focus on the community work. As we mentioned earlier, thank you so much, Ceretha.
you're welcome.
Anybody got any questions?
So, my name is Charlie Henderson, for those who do not know me. I am interested because I know the Tuesday Morning Forum have, your Tuesday morning information. Is it possible that you all, that are the leaders of Tuesday Morning Forum, be able to adopt some of what you just said, Ms. Mary, to have information in June? Because you have 4 Tuesdays. One of those Tuesdays can be dedicated to the Juneteenth information. So is that something that you guys may be able to actually help implement?
We just talked about, we're gonna open it up for suggestions, just as you just suggested. That some things that we can do on Tuesday forward. That's what we've been doing an open forum this morning, and that's one of those.
But you know, I'm making note of that in June, we should do something about Juneteenth.
Okay. Any other questions of Ceretha?
Monday.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question, but I would love to go back to what Mary said and to have you guys unite. Because right now, I'm aware of 3 events that Juneteenth is having, different people are having in the city for Juneteenth.
Yes, she mentioned.
And I know that when they have the Spanish or the Latino festival downtown, the city supports that, and they have the Greek, the city supports that. So if you guys could come together, and I don't care if it's 3 days or a whole month, they make millions of dollars.
That's right.
And they are provided with the resources, the place, the police. and
That's right.
everything.
You're very correct.
Very separate.
I think so. I think it's very important because I know you have your mission, but I think we need to have an open mind because everybody has something valuable. If we can have one big thing like Carlenia says, that would be great. And then still have branches of different things. But I think what I'm hearing, and I'm not from you, but I'm just saying that from the different groups, that this group doesn't necessarily communicate with that group.
That's the truth.
So I mean,
you're hearing it correctly.
You could be a catalyst to make that happen.
I'll try.
And that come together. And just remember, you have to give up something too. When a group comes together, everybody's got to give up
Negotiations.
something.
True that.
You know what I mean? Yeah, territorial kind of thing. So I would like to see that happen.
I'll try to make it happen between now and next Juneteenth.
Yes.
Okay.
And since this is on the record as a public forum, Ms. Carlenia, given your area of expertise in local government, can you talk about some of the processes to get that to happen? Because I'm sure it's overwhelming to just go to whatever entity in local government to say, support us. How can we get that to happen for these 3 organizations to go downtown and be able to have that ability to request these resources you speak of?
Well, I really hate that we're on camera. Sometimes you have to act crazy. No, but you do. But you do have to come together as a group. And, I'm sharing something with Laura and Mary, and I shared with you. You have to get to the point where you say enough is enough. And you have to unite. And you have to write letters to not only your district rep, but to the mayor, and you have to make sure everybody that we have elected is aware of what you want to do. And you almost have to say, I hate to say demand, but you deserve a meeting to say, but you better make sure you are united and you 3 organizations have all of your facts together and you're ready to collaborate. And then you have to go down there. You've seen it on TV where neighborhoods go with signs and they have their speakers. That, one speaker might speak, but then they might collectively say that we're gonna have 3 or 4 speak and be given 10 minutes so they can really get their point right. You gotta unite and you have to organize. That's the best way to start. And then again, we continue to elect people over and over who don't do for us. I can tell you a perfect example, Mary, you were involved with, they wanted to put Popeyes, let's just use that as an example, up near what's the library?
Sunset.
Sunset. A group of people.
No, not Sunset,
Library.
Oh.
Went up there, and guess what? No Popeyes. Then they decided, okay, we're gonna go down to Sunset, right there where that 5-minute thing that they're building.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad for the men, but we still said no. Well, what did they do?
Put it down.
They went right around the corner where the car wash, and we have 50 fast food greasy places up there. They went right around there, it's already zoned. No one knew, we couldn't have stopped it because it's already zoned, but we need to find out, how can this happen? So there's a Popeyes that's being built, right up in that, near the car wash at Sunset. Now, I said, you know what I need to do? I need to go up there and hold the sign and say, do not. They will run me over. People who look like you will run me over to get the Popeyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's no different than all the Family Dollars on babies. You know, we have to decide what we're gonna patronize, what we're not gonna patronize. I have not been in that Family Dollar on Sydney Lane, but it's full. So we complain about it, but then we spend our dollars there. So until we
We
unite,
sure do.
nothing's gonna change. Until we write letters, and I believe that, and I have a coalition of people who are behind these letters. I believe I might not get everything I want, but they've got to listen and they've got to hear us, because they don't hear us.
One of the things, Carlene is right,
She is.
but the problem is that we have too many separate groups. You know, if you could come together, that's gonna be my motto for the year. Come together and work together and make one effort, one big effort, even if it's going down into the city council meeting or the school board meeting, or whatever it is, but make one big effort instead of you making an effort, you making an effort, you on the same thing, because what happens is they get confused. They say, well, Miss Ceretha said this and Mr. So-and-so said that. So I think that, you know, again, you have to let your pride down and be able to be amenable to other people's ideas too. You know?
And they find Winston, and they give Winston 30,000. So Winston happy.
Yeah.
And 30,000 is crumbs, but they always find a Winston. I'm using him. So they don't have to give us millions. The 34.5 million that they talked about last week is for 6 communities. That equates to about 5 million for like Babies for Growth. That is nothing.
That's right.
Well, we're supposed to be happy we hear 34. That's 5 communities. We need to educate ourselves, and we need to read. And we need to say no. Because if you go on South Tryon, is it South Tryon or South Boulevard right now? All the infrastructure has been built. You can't get through, I'm sorry.
That's right, you're right.
The construction.
Jackie wanted to say something.
Who was advocating? I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say this lady was next, but I do wanna say something.
Okay, well, she could go next.
Okay.
Sabrina.
You can finish your thought, I don't know.
No. I mean, I could talk all day.
Okay, let's do this. We talked about getting some ideas. We're having an open discussion, and we know what we have problems with in our community. That we can talk about it all day, but it's all about doing something about it. And if there are groups that need to come together in our community and communicate effectively to make a difference, that's what we need to identify, like the Juneteenth group.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we attempted to do on a short notice for this morning. Because of the conversation that was held last week, I missed it. But the conversation about the west side, the Batesville Road corridor, and Mary is more familiar with it than I am, and she's the one that made the recommendation. And I agree with it. She said that there's 4 different groups.
3 or 4 different groups, and
On the
Yeah.
Batesville Road
and
corridor.
each one has a focus. Each one has a focus, and they're all important. They're all important. They do great things, and I think it's important for them to come before us to share what it is they're doing so you can be involved. But at short notice, I wasn't able to get everyone. Reverend Atkinson, Reverend Cornelius Atkinson, and he's with the Northwest Corridor Council of Elders. He's very important. That's a very important organization, along with the Historic West End Neighborhood Association. And I think there are a couple others I'm missing, but we would like for them to come in, and probably you are a member also, but we want them to come in to give us an overview of what is happening on the West End. And also, can I just bring up one thing? I participated in a Zoom last night, and it was given by the United Way, because the United Way actually is getting ready to spend a huge amount of money on the corridor, a huge amount of money. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what they want is that the community to identify the needs on the corridor. They don't want to identify it. They want to do it. So they had a session last night in which people were able to have input. They also sent out a survey. I'm not sure, did anyone in here get that survey? You got the survey? You got the survey? You got the survey? Okay. You got the survey too? Okay. Well, after a lot of discussion, it was a lot, like 20 different things that people said, and it took a good hour to narrow down 5 things. Was anybody else on that call? You were on the call, weren't you? So they narrowed down, and I took a picture of the 5 that, and these were the 5 so far. There's going to be more discussion, but so far these are the 5 areas, and they're very general because they want us to define what they look like, okay? But one is anti-displacement. And anti-displacement, that includes a lot of things. You know, that can include affordable housing, it can include fixing up properties and stuff like that. There's a lot in there. The second one is childhood and youth, okay? What can we do for the youth on the West Side? Okay, food access and fresh food initiatives, wealth building. And wealth building, what they wanted to do with that is to include home ownership and also financial management. And let people know about, you know, just, you know, if a dollar comes in your hand, it doesn't have to just go right out. You know, how much of that dollar should be saved and this kind of thing. And also mental health and recovery. So those are the 5: anti-displacement, childhood and youth, food access, fresh food initiatives, wealth building, and mental health recovery. So those were the 5 that were identified. Did you want to say anything about, you want to add anything about the discussion?
They are looking for nonprofits to apply in any of those fields to apply for the grants.
Right. And they're going to be with us. She said this is going to be a full year. And then they're still going to be with us even after a year.
Right.
So if you have if you are in an organization,
and the deadline is June
coming up,
22nd.
Yeah, the June the 22nd is the deadline, and you need to submit
This year?
Yes, that's why they had it last night, because they were like, this was like a fast turnaround.
Yeah.
And so, if you have an organization and you have a project that you want funded within one of these areas, you need to get that in as soon as possible. And I'm thinking about the sports complex.
But Mary, that makes no sense for us to have a deadline of June and you have a meeting last night and the criteria which they asked for, a lot of grassroots organizations do not have that. I was with someone group the other day who were funders, and like I said, we need to go back to the basics and have what Laura had, that incubator, where you train people and you help them and you lead them and you guide them to apply for these. Somebody needs to say stop, because don't know what
That's
they
the truth.
don't know. So what happens is a lot of the same ones get the money. A lot of grassroots do not get it because they don't know how. People who were there, the meeting I went to was Lending Tree, Family Dollar, Levine, all of, they said that when they see these grants written, they cry because they're good, but they're not written accurately. I said, then why don't you do something about it? Why don't, because it's not, we're not stupid. My grandkid said it's a bad word.
You know what, maybe, I wish you had been on there last night.
Well, I sent her an email.
Yeah.
I sent the CEO an email.
Oh,
Is
good.
that Laura Clark?
Yes, and I said, can we talk? Okay?
Yeah.
And-
Oh, you did,
I
okay,
did.
good, okay, cause that, I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And,
Well, what I wanted to say too, the first thing, when these organizations are trying to fund a grant, that information needs to be shared at least a good 6 months ahead of time, okay? Now, we don't know about these grants until the last minute because maybe we need to start participating in some of their meetings, like advisory boards. If we can get on the boards and get active in those organizations where we can get that real-time information. So somehow we have to, if we don't get involved in those organizations and serve on their advisory boards or even their boards of directors, we're not going to be made aware of these grants that need to be funded by a certain deadline. So I don't know, maybe this group can get together and find out which organizations we begin to serve on. What organizations we need to begin to serve on so that we can get this information, so that we can take it back to the nonprofit organizations that participate in Tuesday morning. And then they're able to be aware of these funding opportunities and the deadlines, at least 6 months of the, ahead of time.
But see, I just found out about it last week
Right.
when I got the
But
email.
why can't we be the vehicle so they feed the information to us and we meet every Tuesday?
Right.
Steve sends out information.
Oh, you know what, and I tried to get her to come, I tried to get the, Catherine with the head of this at the United Way, I tried to get her to come today to talk about it, but she could not get in.
That's
here.
Catherine.
But Mary, you understand what I'm saying
I
about?
got you, yeah.
Yeah, and United Way, I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania. I've been in Charlotte now since 2010, and I was very actively involved in the community. My father had a nonprofit, and he always said that you've got to be involved where the decisions are being made.
That's right.
You have to have a place at the table so the nonprofit organizations can hear that. And so what happened was the United Way used to have a program back in Erie, Pennsylvania called Project Blueprint. And Project Blueprint, I don't know if it was a program throughout the United States, but what they did was they taught people of color how to serve on boards. I even went through it. It was, I went through the program. It was a 6-month program. The other thing is I participated in something called Leadership Erie. They have a Leadership Charlotte. Back in Erie, I participated in that. So and I got a scholarship for all of them, how I participated. So what happened was I learned about all the city, municipalities and counties and state, all the big businesses within Erie. And we went on visits and field trips, and we had political candidates or political leaders come in, legislative leaders come in and speak to us. But we learned the whole dynamics of how the city government and process work.
And that's what Leadership Charlotte is.
Mhm.
We also had a black group that was formed years ago called Focus on Leadership
Mhm.
for the black people in the community. But what we want to do, and what we do here at Tuesday Morning Forward, is try to invite those entities to Tuesday Morning Forward, and those who want to come to hear. We've been doing this for years. I mean, this is something that's not new as the way we present our information to the community. We have done this for years, we've done it virtually, and we are doing it, we are continuing, and we're trying to bring it back, to bringing people in here. So, but this is not the venue of what we do. We are here to share that information that you're talking about to the community. And this morning, because of this situation we had last week on the discussions about the West Side, it's a step that we've taken to try to get those groups that are not working together on Batesport Road area. This has been an opportunity. It was an opportunity for us to bring them together. And we also spoke with those leaders and asked them if they would consider coming together with these other groups on the West Side. So we've taken the initiative to make that step, but we can't, that's not what we do. I mean, that's not what the Tuesday Morning Forum is all about. But what we'd like to hear from you all this morning is what you and who you would like to hear from. But this gentleman has had his hand up, and I'd like for him to say something, and then Jackie, and then, no.
That's all right.
Doug, and then, okay, sir.
Really quickly, I've got a meeting tomorrow morning with Captain Furman Sellers around Funded Collaborative, and I'll ask her the question for the Batesport Road initiative, and so I'll get that information. And to your point, is it truly, this June, which it probably is, and so, but I'll get that information in terms of. Do you also know what the amounts of the grants are going to be? Did they share that?
They say that it was, it's not like 10,000, it's like up. I mean, they did not say what the
range is.
What the range was, but they said it was not a little bit. And also, since you have a meeting, can you find out how long this information has been out?
Yes.
About this? Because it's hard to believe that this just came about just now. So can you find out?
It's coming out about 6 months prior. People.
That's what I'm saying. Could you find out?
It's probably
how
a
it
situation
got out?
where
We know.
it's a challenge, right? Because what ends up happening is you have within the United Way, Foundation for the Carolinas, all the bigs, I'll just call them right. They all have representatives that represent Center City or Charlotte or basically everything within 45, and they all have different strategic initiatives, whatever priorities, right? And so, for United Way, I know for a fact, the West Side, Lakeview community, that's a big focus for them right now. And so they're really pouring into that. But where you're going, and you're not wrong, is that we have to make sure that that information gets back within the communities so that they can take advantage of the opportunities.
Well, I think that Carlene said this last week, and I think that this is true because I'm sure that they have a contact in the community. That I guess they expect that contact to get this information out, but evidently it's not happening. Right. So, Okay.
So,
Jackie. Well, that's pretty much what I was. Each of these funders, most of them will have a community engagement person. And it's Sam Smith with United Way.
Exactly right. I just said that.
Each funder. And we should be contacting, if they don't know who we are, or these different organizations, we go on their website of the funder, find out who they are, and Sam is in the community. But that doesn't mean he knows everything. So I wanted to just lift that up. And I came out of United Way. That's why I know Laura Clark. That's how I know Catherine Furman Sellers. But these folk, they have folk who can come to us and help. The other thing I want to say, in the way of collaboration, that has happened in this community before. And it hadn't so much happened at the forum, but folk have come together on their own. When you look at the Faith Alliance, ministers of some large churches came together to have that education summit. But they did it on the outside before they start asking for money of funders. And last week, or maybe the week before, we had the West Side think tank with Shemaiah. And then we had Min Cha who was with communities and schools.
Mm-hmm.
They came together to get that money from the Belk Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't ask for money, as Carlene was saying, until we have come together to ask for those big dollars. Because somebody may not have a track record. Somebody else may not have something else. Someone else may not have something else. But when we bring all those strengths together, we can put together a really good business plan so that we can submit to any funder in this city and be guaranteed that it's going to be funded.
Okay, Chris.
Okay, so, maybe we can find a way to foster in what Ms. Carlina is saying up under one of those 5 categories, because every meeting I'm in, it seems like organization is the key. And like, we have so many things in our community that needs to be addressed. So just like your body, your brain is a part, your blood, your arms, your legs. Like, everybody's an expert in whatever field that they're in, but everybody's pulling in separate ways.
That's right.
And maybe with this United Way, we can use it to foster just some kind of tools that help us organize as a whole. And that way, when you do go to these groups for funding, like, we're together with what we need. And hopefully we can get to a point where we don't always have to go to people. Like, we're always begging. Like, and they're not really gonna do nothing because we're not priority. So it has to be a way that we can kind of build up so we can eventually pull away. Like, of course, it's deserved. Like, it's deserved. But we always can't be dependent on these groups funding us, especially pennies, like when they're offering other communities.
Good.
That's why with any nonprofit, you have to have a profit-making entity.
Ma'am,
sometimes we forget what we've already done, and United Way specifically has had grant writing workshops. They've had workshops around how to operate boards, and it could be that the people there don't know what they have done in the past. So, Carlene, when you speak with Laura, you may want to remind her of some of the things they have done, because we need them again if they forgot the history of the organization. And the chamber has stuff, the Foundation for the Carolinas, all of them have done stuff, but communication is scripted.
And I'm listening to everything that's being said, and I think that it's a good dialogue, but it's all about action. It's all about making it happen. We do what we do here by bringing information to the public, or those that are interested in knowing what's going on. That's how the dialogue begins. But we're not the ones that will go out. She can try to get together the groups that's doing Juneteenth. These different organizations on the west side. Mayor's already started and initiated something like that. The grants with all these different entities out here that have these grants. But if we, as a people, do not start showing our strength in dollars, and I just have to say this, it's been years ago, but Sharon Waters and I were with the Afro-American Cultural Center, and we talked about showing our strength in dollars. We called it SOCID. We went to Mechanics and Farmers Bank and asked them to take $1 for anybody that walking in depositing in the account. We went to the Charlotte Post and asked them to print it in the Charlotte Post that these people, this was years ago, showed just to do $1. At that time, there was 80,000 black people in Charlotte. We were trying to raise $80,000. And we went to the churches and they let us in their approved pews to ask people to give $1 towards a major fundraiser, and all of these dollars would come from the people in the black community. These are dollars that we could, $1, if we could got $80,000 together. Now, we only raised about $3,000, and that money that we raised, we gave it back to the Nita Stroud Foundation, the Afro-American Cultural Center, the Urban League, but it was it was an opportunity for us to really show that we could show our strength in $1. If everybody in this city would have done that, until we do something big and major like that to let people know that we are spending money and we can pay for whatever we need, and we don't have to go to the United Way. And we know how we're consumers, but we've got to show our strength in dollars. We can't always depend on these different entities to do what needs to be done in our community, especially if we are not together and if we're not on the same accord. So as we talk about these different organizations and entities that have funding, and when they can tell us or give us a short notice or give us 6 months to prepare for it, we need to do something for ourselves, number one, and then we need to be better prepared to take it on as a group. One person can't do it. We just can't do it. So showing our strength in dollars is going to be a key to a lot of what needs to be done in our community. But until everybody that said something in here this morning can take a stand and take a role and being a part of on that board, of that commission, of that group, of writing the letters and making sure that you follow up and follow through and be a part of it, because we've been talking about this for a long time. But as a Tuesday morning forum, that's what we're doing, is providing with information. And we would like to get some more ideas. We've heard a lot this morning on who you would like to come here. But okay, but we can make sure that we have the funders, those major funders. If we can get these major funders up here to commit and get it on tape, on film, on video, and have someone to follow up, those are the things that we can only do. We can't do but so much here. Winston, I'm sorry.
So I believe I'm on both sides of this conversation. To my sister's point, where we shouldn't have to go for the funding for pennies. We should build our own. I appreciate that. However, I'm sure they're able to fund specifically from some bigger business that was funded off racism. So we deserve all the money. If they're gonna be in this space of philanthropy, I think we have a prominent, we occupy a prominent space to receive those dollars for what we do. And who we are and how we could, again, climb out of these things that were built from a greater system of systemic racism. Two, I think there's a marketing disconnect. We all know about the Popeye's chicken sandwich, but we didn't know about these grants that go out to supposedly uplift our community. So there's a disconnect in the branding or the marketing. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but how can we pressure these organizations to distribute this message even more? Honestly, during the pandemic, I reduced my role at my job and founded a grassroots nonprofit. Ms. McClellan, you've been to the event. Ms. Walton, you've been to the event. We can get 2,500 people out there and introduce them to pathways to home ownership. That's the easy part for me. However, when it comes to getting funding, even the United Way grant, I was denied for that. I thought, I can write pretty well. However, grant writing is a specific type of writing that has nothing to do. But I didn't know that. So now I'm just out here trying to utilize or lean on relationships I got as just being in the community when I was president of the neighborhood association or just being in Helena or whatever. And that's how we were able to fundraise. It's not the typical way to do things, but that system of getting funding from, those funding organizations is a system within itself that a lot of grassroots organizations, that I've spoken to at least, don't feel like they're a part of, because the same people who get it, they know how to write for that organization, and it's cyclical. So at the same time, just like Ms. Ceretha, when you have this burning desire to do something for your community, you just go for it. So it's not that we're separated or she's doing this Juneteenth, another organization is doing this Juneteenth. They just have this burning desire to do something to contribute to their community, and they're doing what they know how. At least that's what I am.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Laura, I know, and we have Tuesday morning, as long as I've been involved, has done a great job of getting speakers here. What I would like to see, if there's a possibility that we can, from these conversations, come out, and I know Mary's taking notes, and make recommendations, and how we're gonna hold people accountable, and put my thing up, or whatever.
No.
Oh.
Speak up.
Oh, and how we can make recommendations. And when I say recommendations, I'm not talking about us getting all into the nitty gritty, but can the recommendations be that we be used as a vehicle to spread this information? Can we be used as a vehicle to say that we know that you exist? We are recommending that you guys all work together or something. And one of the other things, organizations, Mary, you said, we know who they told. We know who they told, but did they tell us? So we have to take responsibility too, because sometimes they pick our leaders, they tell them, but they don't tell us.
They're supposed, I mean, they think they know who the leader is.
Right,
you know?
right. And so we need to make, I would love for it to be a vehicle where we're, say, on Tuesday, at the end of Tuesday morning, or when we have these kind of sessions, these are recommendations, even if we do it on a quarterly basis after hearing from. I have a list of individuals that I would like to give to say, the county has over $200 million that they have right now that they're gonna start giving to grassroots organizations. How? We need to find out now. Over 200 million. You know, I don't know what the city, Bank of America is investing on Beatty's Ford Road. We need to invite the president, Keith Cockrell. They're putting all these millions of dollars that's gonna be on Beatty's Ford Road. And you know, they'll hire somebody to ride down Beatty's Ford Road. Again, I asked you guys last week, have we talked to you? No. No. You know, and that's what we're saying. So I want to find a way for us to be a vehicle to spread the word. I don't want, you know, I know we don't want to get into all the, you know, the thing I say, I want no more friends and no more responsibilities. So, but can we be a vehicle to spread the word? And again, I go back to, that's what we're holding accountable.
Okay, and that with the accountability, do we have any, we'd like to get some other suggestions as well. Because we've attempted to be that vehicle, but we gotta be clearer, we gotta have clarity about who we want here and when we gonna bring them in. And are we gonna bring them one by one, are we gonna bring them all together? Now, we need other recommendations of who you'd like to see come to the Tuesday morning forum. And as we make these recommendations, we need for someone to step up to the plate and ask. Go in with the ask. Go to that person. If you know them, you know, we're trying our best to make sure that we are serious about this thing. But it's gotta be someone that can go and do the ask. There are certain people that I can go to, Mary can go to, Colleen can go to, Ceretha can go to. But we've got to ask, and we want to know the answer, which is yes, I will be there. Okay.
Let's ask. If I'm not, the gentleman you're with is from Adrian on the community engagement side.
He is.
And let's just ask. Look, that's a funding vessel right there, right?
Okay, that's what is it? What
Adrian.
Adrian. Oh, Adrian.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can just ask them. You know, right now, where's that disconnect?
Okay.
Well, you know, how can we be more proficient in asking for resources we'd like to see from Adrian?
Well, he said he was going to a meeting, and
Oh,
he's gonna, I
yes,
know,
I
he
was
was going to be, interacting with some of those people, and he was gonna talk about this United Way deadline that's real soon and all, and so hopefully he'll bring back this information about if it's,
He's
why
outside.
didn't,
Yeah.
Oh, why didn't we know about it 6 months ago?
Well, that's United Way. I'm talking about Atrium because they're funders as well.
Right,
Well,
right, right.
he's a part of that group. But let's get some more, do we have any more recommendations?
Okay,
Who we would
now-
like to come to Tuesday morning?
I'd like to
Him.
see Adrian.
Okay,
And
I
your
have that written down.
Yeah.
And also now, you know, school is getting ready to start in the fall. And that's a biggie. So I think we need to have, who, Carlene?
I tell you offline.
Offline, okay. Okay. But I think that, you know, we have people who have children out there and, you know I'm a big school proponent as far as our children are in trouble.
Crisis.
It's a crisis. And I don't think that we can ignore that because that has a lot to do with everything that we're talking about. Everything, because they're gonna grow up. So we need to have some conversation. And so we can talk about what it could be, Carnegie, but just put down school system.
Okay, I was gonna also suggest the libraries too, just for some of their programs that they have available that also impact children and families and literacy.
We can have the director from Allegra Westbrook.
We can have a
She
director.
could come.
Yep.
That's a regional library and they have so many programs.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm getting ready to expose myself. Do people still, they attend church? I know, the decline was like going down, but like some of these religious leaders, like some of the churches have all of this space and they have congregations where they can get words out. I just wonder, like, I guess in the 60s, churches were used as a place for organization. Do they still do that, or?
That's a
Like-
good point. That's a good, put churches down here.
Like some of the
Space,
religious
space, because you know what, if you go to a church now and you wanna have a meeting or you wanna bring a group together, like you're saying, they're gonna make you pay a rental fee and they'll say you can use the room for $300 and that kind of stuff. So we need to work with them to make their space available during the day. I mean, during the day, they're in there and all these empty rooms, why can't a group come in and have a meeting?
Or Saturday.
children can come in and
Or something like that.
have a tutoring session.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay.
So we talked about schools, but the schools alone aren't the solution. We probably need to have some Department of Social Services, some other community organizations, our Brother's Keeper, some other folks who are trying to solve the problem.
Mental health.
To talk about how we can make a difference to save our kids.
Yeah, you know, that's good. I mean, but what I noticed that we do have all these little groups like My Brother's Keeper, the 100 Bloody Men. All these people are doing things, but where's the progress?
The unity.
Where is the progress? And you know, and just that I don't see anything changing because all these people are going in these schools. So they need to either work smarter or there's something. But I still think we need to have these leaders in here. We have a new acting superintendent, and he needs to know that we are concerned about what's going on. You know, he needs to know because sometimes they take us for granted, and he needs to know that we are watching you. We are watching the school system, that kind of thing. So
A lot of these organizations and businesses are 501c3s and C4s, so they're getting monies and funding from the heads, whether it's the county, the city, school, all of them. So when we're asking for community input, community space, community organizing, they're going to be very slim in doing that because they're getting money. They don't want to get their funding stopped. So again, when you have a Tuesday morning forum, and how long this Tuesday morning forum has been going on, you have a very powerful space, a very powerful voice. And it's time to take, and I don't know, I'm just speaking, and it's time to take Tuesday morning forum to a whole different dimension.
Yes.
Because what I've seen coming through these doors over the years is that a lot of people come here because they want your vote. You have an opportunity to put this information in the masses. there's opportunity for you to just go to another level and hold these people accountable for when they come in these doors. Make them do what they're supposed to do versus asking them or saying, would you like to? No, it's time out for would you like to. It's time to demand what we need as a community, as a whole. So I just want to make sure that's being said.
And Charlene, let me tell you, believe me, this discussion, this is not the first time we've had this discussion. But it's only a few of us. It's only 6 or 7 of us.
Very powerful 6 or 7, I mean.
But let me tell you what we do. We provide the information to the community. Steve we did the virtual, but he has been taping back since 2014, right, Steve? He's been taping, so we got all of this, everything that anybody's ever promised. But our breakdown is following up and following through and asking people showing people that they need to be held accountable based on the information that we have. We don't do that. Those are us that are facilitators. We haven't done that. We've chosen not to do that, to follow up and follow through, because this is our volunteer work. All of us, this is part of what we do voluntarily in this community, is to be a part of the Tuesday Morning Forum and present and be committed to it. This is what we do. Follow up and follow through is a whole nother level and a leg. We need a group of people that will be willing to do that. We don't have that. None of us can do that. I can follow up with who I invited and ask them, why didn't you do what you said Mary can do? All of us individually, we can do that. But we don't have that level of people that will be willing to follow up and follow through with all of the commitments and everything that they're saying, to hold them accountable for. The accountability piece it's not there, it hasn't been there, and we don't know. If we had that, then that would help us a lot, but we're not there yet. If anyone in here is willing to do that, take on that role or that responsibility, that's good. You have a question?
Yeah, well, Mary's point was, we have groups and nothing changes, and, granted, I've only been attending the forum for about a year, but I think that, Mr. Robinson spoke to this, systems are resistant to change. And frequently what I see are speakers who work within systems or are in some way beholden to systems. I'd like to see some speakers who present a critique of various systems. So in the criminal justice space, someone like Christy Puckett-Williams.
Like who said that again?
Christy Puckett-Williams. She is the statewide director of ACLU Smart Justice Campaign, a formerly incarcerated individual who is, I believe she self-describes as an abolitionist. I would like to see maybe the Housing Justice Coalition, which they advocate a pretty radical, well, I don't think it's radical, but an interpretation that if housing is a right, it ought not be commodified. And they advocate for people who are affected by displacement and by corporatists who harm working people. Maybe somebody to provide a critique of the capitalist system in the ways, or provide a historical basis of the ways in which capitalism and white supremacy have worked hand in hand in the United States. Because I think too often we look for systems within the capitalist system which, in my perspective, serve to reinforce white supremacy. So I know I threw a lot out there, but I mean, so rather than someone who is like, has this project, someone to provide a critique of everything that's going on in Charlotte that could inform us than when someone who is within a system comes in, so that we can ask a little sharper questions in a respectful manner. And I know we always want to be respectful and courteous to people, but I think we can ask tough questions in courteous and respectful.
And I think just to your point, I really like that. I wrote those down. To your point, people don't really understand what capitalism is.
Correct.
Because I noticed that the questions last week that were going to the, especially about, things like what people build, affordable homes and stuff like that. I mean, you know, these people coming in buying up all the homes. That's capitalism. Anybody can do it. You could do it. Any of us could do that if we had the money. We could just go buy a bunch of homes and rent them out. So that's capitalism. And it's nothing that the city of Charlotte can't do anything about. Capitalism. But so I think that all of this, those three that you named, I like that.
Let me, can I say that, I am here, and Doug, both Doug and I work for Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. And this group is so powerful. And my department is community engagement and partnerships. And this is so important that I'm here to make sure that I take that information that might be pertinent to CMS. So yes, I'm on the clock, but that's how important they feel Tuesday morning is that, and especially there was a time, and I'm sure it will come back again, where a lot of the information is about the state of the schools. So, you know, we're here, and that's the reason I want people to know that we're here. But anytime you're in community engagement, everything we're talking about that affects our parents affects the school system.
Also, I noticed, like, trying to figure out a way to get young people engaged in these forums because they need to know. So they won't learn these things when they're in the midst, like learning through experience, like, because like those are the future leaders, and I think it would be good if some kind of way we could get, because a lot of our community are not taught just the inner workings of things. So if it's the way we can get younger people, or maybe like that'll be an excuse action, because it is education, you know. Maybe if they come to a forum Tuesday morning, you know, that'll be part of just curriculum.
We've tried, and Laura, you can speak to this about the young people. We would love to have younger people here. I know that it's an issue because a lot of younger people at work during this time and are not flexible enough to be here. But if there was a way that we could get younger people who are out there, and because most of us are retired, you know, if we could get people like Winston. Winston's flexible, he can come in. We could get people like that would be great.
When I say younger. No. You know, don't take offense. When I say younger, I'm talking about like even teenagers. And,
well, you know, during the summer would be an ideal time to have teenagers. That we could have some type of focus and have them in here.
But I've seen your newsletter before, but I work a little bit with Carolina Youth Coalition. Has Aaron Randolph ever come to talk about Carolina Youth Coalition, or some of the young people within some of the fellows in Carolina Youth Coalition are doing some pretty wonderful things, and we could certainly arrange to have, you could either get a presentation or a two-part presentation about what Carolina Youth Coalition does, or just from some of the young people who are fellows, they could talk about the work that they're doing.
That would be a good one.
Yeah, but they would engage if Mr. Aaron told them to come, they would come.
And what was his name? I'm sorry.
His name is Aaron Randolph. I can connect you with him.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock, and this has been MIC in the clock room. This has been a healthy discussion this morning. However, as we have stated, we know what we do, and we've been committed to disseminating information, sharing information to our community. But I want to reiterate the fact that we need another level, we need to move up, but we need someone that's going to take the responsibility of holding our presenters accountable. So think about it, those of you all that are interested, and know that it's a lot of work, just even for us to do what we do, particularly what students been able to do. But it's being journaled, you know, it's been archived. All of the speakers and all the information has been disseminated. So if you're interested in doing something more than attending and giving us recommendations on speakers, please feel free to do so. And if there's a grant out there for someone to monitor it for us, ask them to apply for it and come and help us out. Thank you all. Do you have anything?
Oh, no,
Announcements, if you have an announcement, send them to Steve and he will put it on our website.
Thank
He's
you,
busy with the
Ceretha,
website.
for sharing.
Thank you, Steve.
You're very welcome, very welcome.
You all have a
Thank you.
wonderful day.
I'll bring the flyers next week for the concert that we have on the 19th.
You know, I'll be
All right. I'm gonna go to have a